Hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of the Maamar Vayishlach Yehoshua. Last video we started the Maamer and we brought the comparisons of the spies that are sent in this week's Parsha by Moshe Rabbeinu to scout the Eretz Yisrael, or Eretz Canaan at the time. When we compared it to the spies that were sent by Yehoshua in this week's Torah, which were only sent to Jericho, and we explained what that means, Al Pi Chassidus, where Jericho represents the garments of the soul. That's what we called it, the levushim, the garments, and this is the thoughts, speech, and actions. Unlike Eretz Yisrael, the whole land, this is the 7 emotional attributes. And we said what this means in our service of Hashem. We said that the spies that Moshe sent, they were not in a form of commandment. It was just to Moshe's own decision. And why is that? It's because sending spies, scouting, examining the midos, the emotional attributes of a person, it's not really in the hands of everyone. Not everyone's able to achieve such a thing. To make sure it's all for Hashem, to make sure that all the 7 emotional attributes are for Hashem, for godliness. It's a bit of a difficult task, and it's only it's not only, but it's more in the righteous people's department, the department of the tzaddikim. Unlike the garments of the soul, the thought, speech, and action, we've explained, everyone has control over them. Everyone has control over their thoughts, speech, and actions, and therefore we say, this is why it comes as a form of a commandment to Yehoshua, that Yehoshua is commanded to send spies to Jericho, is that everyone has this commandment, everyone has a commandment on themselves to go examine, to conquer their thoughts, speech, and actions, and make sure they're for godliness, for holiness, that their thoughts are holy, that their speech is holy, and their actions are holy. This is something that it takes work, but it's something everyone's able to do. Okay, so we explained that. That was we brought the question, what's the difference, and the answer was that the spies sent to Jericho is something we can and must do to ourselves, meaning examine our thoughts, speech, and actions, and make sure they're for godliness. Unlike the spies sent by Moshe to the whole land, to the land of the 7 nations, this is not something really so connected to us, seemingly. Now we're going to flip the whole thing, okay? So we're going to continue. Now we're in chapter Gimel, Eis Gimel, whoever's following inside. Let's continue. We're going to flip the whole script now, okay? So the Hine, HaTorah Hi Nitzchis, behold, the Torah, it's eternal. Like we said in the last video, whenever we have a commandment, it's something that's given eternally, not just a one-time thing, but it gives us a directive for life, for all generations, not just spies sent to Jericho at the time, but now we understand it also means sending spies to Jericho now, meaning spiritually what Jericho represents. So now the Rebbe is bringing that, just reminding us that, again, this idea, Torah is eternal. It's something applicable to every moment in time. Okay, so from this we understand שמספר בתורה גם שלוח המרגלים דמיישה לתור את כל הארץ הוא הוראה ניצחת לכל אחד ואחד מישראל. The fact that the Torah mentions and records also the story, the whole situation of the spies being sent, like Moshe sending the spies to scout the whole land, all of Eretz Yisrael, is a lesson, a teaching, an eternal teaching to every Jew, every single Jew. Meaning, it's not just recorded stam for no reason in the Torah that Hashem and that Moshe sent spies to Eretz Yisrael. No, obviously it gives us a bit of history, but the Torah is not a history book. We're not learning history from Torah. We're learning lessons. Torah melashon hara. The word Torah comes from the word hara, which means like a lesson, a directive. So the fact that it's telling us this whole situation about Moshe's spies means there is something still we have to learn from it. Even though last video we mentioned not really connected to us. It's more for the tzaddikim, the avodah, the service is for the tzaddikim. But now we're going to flip it and say it actually has something. It does mean something to us, and it is a lesson for us. Okay, so we can understand all this when it means what the service of the Moshe spies, how it means to us, by first prefacing an explanation in the Tanya. We're going to explain that idea of the tzaddikim, of the righteous people, and the beinonim, which literally translates to like the middleman, but it's we'll explain what it means. Sha'avodas habeinonim hi beikar bilavush hanefesh machshavet divrei ma'aseh. The service of a Beinoni, of the middleman, is primarily in the garments of the soul, meaning his thoughts, speech, and actions. His whole service primarily is to make sure his thoughts, speech, and actions are for God, for holiness. Okay, therefore, the attributes of a Beinoni is an attribute that's applicable to everyone. Everyone can be a Beinoni. It can be difficult, but like I said, it's like, it can be a struggle to make sure your thoughts, speech, and actions are for God, but it's still possible. It's in everyone's ability. Shagam kishalev chomad umitave eze taiva beychalta lehitapek limshal baruch taiva shebelavoi shelo lemil avta b'maisa divrei machshava shelo lechshev al derech zeh b'rtzaynai. I don't know if I pronounced that word correctly, but the Rebbe's saying is from the Tanya that even when the person's heart is craving or desiring some sort of desire, some sort of thing that he wants, he's able to control himself and to control this desire he has that's in his heart, and that he wouldn't, I guess, he wouldn't reach out for this thing, whether it's in his action, speech, or thought. Meaning it shouldn't be something he should consider at all in his will. So, meaning, like, just for an example, very simple examples, someone likes chocolate. They really love it and they want chocolate all the time. A person's able to like hold himself back. It's like, no, I don't need this chocolate right now. Like, he can, train his mind to thinking that's not good for him, the sugars, whatever. Eventually he can get to a place where he doesn't even want it at all because he knows it's not good for him. I'm not saying chocolate's bad. That's nothing to take out from this lesson, just an example. The point is, he's able to control himself, that it shouldn't come out to thought, speech, and action, that he'll reach out for this desire. And desire here, we're talking about something that's not so holy. And this until the point where he's able to not even think about this thing at all, where it doesn't even become a desire for him. He's able to overcome his desire so much where it eventually isn't a desire for him at all. Meaning, for this chocolate example, a person who desires chocolate so much until he works on himself that he doesn't even like chocolate, he doesn't even think about chocolate at all. Okay, so this is something that everyone's able to achieve, whether it's with chocolate or some other desire. We're talking about desires that are not holy. Okay, so Masha Enkein Avodas HaTzaddikim. This is unlike the service of the righteous men. This is their service is primarily with the attributes that's in the heart, the emotional attributes that we mentioned. And the Rebbe says in general it's ahava v'yira, love and fear. It's talking about loving God, loving Hashem, fearing Hashem. There's so many levels of love and fear in Hashem, and this is primarily the service of tzaddikim, to reach higher levels of their love and fear for God. So the ein kol adam zeich lezeh. Not everyone's merited. Not everyone can merit this level of working on their love and fear on the level of a tzaddik. Okay. Ki bedvar hamsur lelev ein la adam mishpat abechira kol kach. Because this thing that keep it up. Hang on. Ki bedvar hamsur lelev. Something that controls the heart. No. Something, Hamsur. 1 second. A person doesn't have control. Something that controls the heart. A person isn't able to rule on this choice. That's literal translation. Meaning, for a regular person, something that. No. What is it saying? Keep it down. Something, because something that is controlling from the heart isn't a person's. person isn't able to rule on the choice so much. Okay. Let's just continue. Maybe we'll understand it. Pretty much, the Rebbe is just comparing the service of the Beinoni and the tzaddik. Beinoni, it's like we've said, it's this whole idea of sending spies to Jericho to control the thought, speech, and action. That it should be for godliness, meaning not to be tempted into the ungodly desires, the unholy desires. Rather to control oneself until the point where it doesn't become a desire at all for this person. And like the tzaddik, the righteous person, their service is to make sure their emotional attributes are all for God, specifically the love and the fear, and that they're reaching higher levels in their love and fear for God. Okay, so Ela she'afal pikein mashvin l'kol echa ve'echa Yisrael tiyeh tzaddik. Nevertheless, each and every Jew made an oath that he should be a tzaddik. That each person needs to at least try at the reaching the level of a tzaddik. He needs to do some sort of service to try be a tzaddik, and it's how it explains in Tanya. Meaning, before we're born, when our neshama, our soul, made a promise that we would be a tzaddik. So even though not everyone is a tzaddik, everyone at least needs to try, because we made a promise. We made a promise to be a tzaddik. And the fact that we have made this promise means that we still have to do the service, at least try to do the service. So the service of the tzaddik to refine their love and fear of God and to reach higher levels, this is something at least we have to try to do. The Rebbe will explain more on how that's possible. So Vayishlach, now we're on the Eis Daled, chapter 4. V'yesh lamer, we can say, the fact that there's a commandment to annihilate the 7 nations and to conquer their lands is an eternal. It's eternal in every generation. Meaning, the Jews, they left when they entered Eretz Yisrael after the 40 years in the traveling through the desert. They had to conquer the land. The spies that are sent in this week's parsha just to go have a look, see what's there, to know what's going on, and then when we enter the Eretz Yisrael, we had to conquer the land. It's not and now the Rebbe is saying as well, it's not a one-time commandment. It's not conquer the land, that's it. Meaning this is something we have to constantly do, whether it means physically it means physically and spiritually. Physically means we always have to have control of Eretz Yisrael, and if there are any enemies trying to take over like we have right now, we have to keep fighting for it, and it's something we can't give away. It's something we need to fight for. But also spiritually, we need to fight these 7 nations, whatever they mean spiritually. Okay, so af shekibush aretz shiva mamen hu hafiches zayin hamidos de nefesh abahamis lekdusha. So even though that conquering the land, the land of the 7 nations, is what it means spiritually, is to transform the 7 emotional attributes of the animal soul to kedusha, meaning you have the 7 emotions in your soul, and the natural way is like an animalistic way where it's, having a desires for this, for certain things, like animal just does what it does. Our job is to make it for holiness, where it's not just the natural way of approaching these emotions, but it's of a godly way, meaning it's for God, for holiness, where we go beyond the nature of these emotions. That's the job of annihilating the 7 nations. So the inyan zeh shaykh tzaddikim. Again, this idea is something that's connected to the righteous people. The ain't called adam zeichel. Not everyone's is merited. It can merit this level. It's a difficult thing to achieve. Ki kol echa ve'echa Yisrael tzarich la'aseh kol ma shebi'chalto la'kayim es hashvua shemashvin oiseh tiyeh tzaddik. So even though it's still like a difficult service to do, nevertheless, since we all made this promise to be a tzaddik when we were just a soul, before we came into a body, we made this promise to be a tzaddik. Therefore, we need to at least try. We need to do something, all that's in our power, to be a tzaddik, and do what we can to make our 7 emotional attributes godly, and holy, not the nature of it, not the to let it just stay in its nature. So this is why it's recorded, the story of the episode of the spies that were sent by Moshe to scout the land is written in the Torah. Like I said before, Torah Melashon Hara. Torah is from the word of Hara, meaning like a teaching, a directive. So Shekol Echem Yisrael Tzarich L'Torah V'Livchein Es HaMidas Shelo, that every Jew needs to scout and to conquer or to examine his own emotional attributes, his midos. Sheyu Kulam L'Havaya, that it all should be for Hashem. We need to do everything we can, everything that's in our ability, and not just think this is something for the tzaddikim. Let them figure it out. We'll just stick to our avodah, our service of controlling our thoughts, speech, and action. No, we need to do what we can because we made a promise. We made a promise that we will be a tzaddik. So therefore, we should try to be a tzaddik and do what we can. So Ela she'afal pikein b'meraglam d'moshe ksiv shelach l'cha l'daycha ani eini metav l'cha ki ikar hativu hu al hamachshavati b'ramaise kibush yerichai shebahem davka harishus netuna l'chol adam mashe enke b'midas shabalev. So even though it's saying this is something we need to try do, we need to try be a tzaddik, do what we can. Nevertheless, it's like the spies of Moshe. It was written like send for yourself, send to your own decision. That I'm not commanding you. This is how Hashem told Moshe, because the primary commandment is on the thought, speech, and action. This is scouting. This is conquering Jericho. We're actually commanded with Jericho, and with that commandment, it was specifically like with that service. It is something given to. It is an ability that's given to every person. Unlike the attributes that are in the heart, the emotional attributes. So we have this like back and forth in these two chapters. We have like this back and forth. We're saying we are like most people, myself, most people. We're just on like a level of a Beinoni, at least, where everyone's able to be a Beinoni. Everyone's able to control, to go scout and conquer Jericho, which is the thought, speech, and action. It's something we're able to do, so therefore we can do it and we must do it. But then we're saying, and we're saying that the spies that Moshe sent to Eretz Yisrael, this is something that's only related to the tzaddikim. Therefore, seemingly it's not really something we have to focus a bit on. But the Rebbe is saying no, it's recorded in the Torah Melashon Hara, something we have to learn from this and take a lesson from it. Therefore, there is something we can do. And he's saying why as well is because we promised when we were just a soul to be a tzaddik. Therefore, not just the fact that it's in the Torah, that it's recorded in the Torah that we should do it, but also the fact that we made a promise. We kind of promised that we will do these services of the tzaddikim, at least try, do what we can. Therefore, it is related to us. But then there's this back and forth. How can we do it? But if it's not in our power, we should just stick to the service of Jericho. So the Rebbe is like going back and forth, seemingly like eventually we're going to go in next video. We're going to narrow it down exactly how we are able to do the service of the tzaddik, and not just I guess take the easy route, take the easy path of sticking to our thoughts, speech, and action. There is a step we can take where we can do what we can do all we can to be a tzaddik and to conquer our emotional attributes. That we'll go into it next video where we'll also finish this Maamer. But yeah, B'ezras Hashem, we'll get there possibly tomorrow. For now, though, just dwell on this idea of what it means. Though, how can we? Obviously, we understand how we can control our thoughts, speech, and actions. We have certain desires, and we just try to, remove ourselves from the desires, take ourselves away from those situations where those desires might come up, and just remove it from our thoughts, not talk about it, not interact with it. That's something that we can do and we should do, and that's something we can take away from this class. But we can also think about what it means to try be a tzaddik, to try control our emotional attributes, all our emotions that we have going on, and to make them all for God, to make them all for holiness. So we can sit on that, think about it until next video, where the Rebbe actually will tell us how. So with that, thank you for watching, and until next time, l'chaim.